Welcome back, Mere Mortalites, to another edition of the Mere Mortals book reviews. You have one here today, and we're going to be learning Stoicism from the very top, because we have Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, and if you care for it, it is the Penguin Classic Edition. Oh my, oh my. Now, we have reviewed this book before, a long time ago, by other co-host Kyron, and I just wanted to read it. I wanted to put together my thoughts around it, some of the interesting things that I was finding, at least from this particular edition of the Penguin Classics. There's a couple of other things to note. And if you haven't checked out some of our old book reviews, well, here's a refreshed version of Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. Now, for those who are not in the know of what this is, one, shame on you, goddammit, but it is a cornerstone, a key piece, a very well replayed, re-talked about, referenced book by the man himself, Marcus Aurelius, who was the Roman emperor way back in the day. So this was around 120 to 180 AD, particularly somewhere around that he actually lived. And I actually did a bit of research because I was interested, at least for this particular book, before we get into it. When was this book written? And I'll get into what it means in terms of written. So from what I could find, it was around 171 to 175 AD. This is sort of the notes that I'm finding from looking around and Googling around, which there you go, puts a bit of a time and place. And then that leads us into the book itself. Now, it is in, of course, a book shape. It's 2024 right now. Now, Marcus himself did not write this book for myself or for you or for anyone in that matter. He, in fact, wrote it for himself. It was very much just the Meditations, as the name says, for himself. He was elucidating ideas, whether he was out in the front line of the war that was happening, I believe in the north of north somewhere where he was living, or it was at home or other locations. He essentially wrote these journal articles, these journal entries for himself around ideas, thoughts, learnings, improvements. Marcus himself, and I'm not going to do justice at all any of the details around Marcus, and I did read the Lives of the Stoics before this particular book, which was written by Ryan Holiday, which a lot of the influence for Ryan Holiday is from Marcus Aurelius, a lot of the Stoics out there. But Marcus Aurelius was another Stoic, you could say, on the line of Stoics that began all the way from Zeno at the Porch, all the way through to Marcus Aurelius many hundreds of years later. But Marcus was the first one who was a Stoic, right? Who practiced Stoicism, who was also in position of being the most powerful man really in existence at that particular point in time, being the ruler of just so much that was available to him. So, go and research your own pieces around Marcus Aurelius. There is nothing in this particular book about who Marcus is, because it is just something that is written for himself. So I guess that's the key point. The book itself, and at least the Penguin Classics edition, right, is structured, and I've got to say, it's structured in the way that this book and the books within were written at obviously different times. It was, if you'd like, journal entries. This is not how it's structured in this particular book. It is encompassed and maneuvered and massaged, so it is a readable text and all grouped together. The other bit that I sort of find out around this is that this particular book, or the way that it's constructed, came from, I guess, two places. So one is some scripting that's currently in the Vatican, and then another manuscript around the information of Meditations, and that kind of conglomerated into the version that we see today. But this is by no means, not even close to what the original would have looked like, and I'm not even sure what that actually looked like. If you do know, leave a comment, send me a message. I'd be keen to know. But this book, in any case, is structured in various books. So if I actually opened it up and read it, which is just Meditations, you'd actually go through and find that there's many book structures, if you want to call it. So it's called in, let me just find it. Book 5, Book 7, literally is just chapter book. And then there's just journal entries, if you'd like. Each one, at least in the Penguin version here, is noted up with some sort of numbering structure on either side, which you can then go and reference in the back end for everything, for most of them. And it helps you discern some of the differences. I do believe, reading through some of the details on here, it has been grouped up into the relevant areas, or I guess groupings, either by when he was actually writing them, Marcus, or just the themes, the topics around it. Just to give you a bit of an idea. So that's kind of the structure behind the book. And at the very end of the Penguins Classic one, in the very least, and I'm being serious here, it's literally 2/3 of the book of this particular edition, if you'd like, is notes. I'm going to hold it up here if you can see it. If you can't, I'm basically holding up the book to the camera, and around a third of the book, a third of this particular book, which is, let's just go 300 pages, is literally just notes referencing back all of the comments, all of the notes that Marcus has put together. And it's either extra information, relevant sources, what he actually meant by it, all that sort of good stuff. Needless to say, I didn't go into that level of depth with it. I really enjoyed just reading it. So that's just the way that I structured it and put it together. So what is the structure of the book? What's it so important when you hear some people say like, wow, Meditations were so damn good. Why was it? Well, I guess personal reflections of Marcus himself. One, it is pretty meticulous. Now, I do my own sort of journaling. I do keep a nice journal in an Excel spreadsheet that I go and do daily updates, and also do a daily update for my part, for my daughter as well. But the level of meticulous detail that you see in the words that he chooses, the way that he illustrates himself, again, has there been some extra additions through the years of what was originally there to what we see today? I don't know. I haven't looked into that. But if this is how he wrote in the way that he's structured and meticulous, wow, goddamn, dude knows how to explore and structure exploration, which is really good. And I guess a deeper understanding of the historical and philosophical context where in this particular book. Again, I read Lives of Stoics previously to get a bit of an idea on previous Stoics, other maybe influential and sometimes not known Stoics. So there is a lot of call outs throughout this particular book on other Stoics, both famous known ones and really unknown ones, or other individuals. Does it take away from the actual book? Not particularly. Again, wasn't meant for that. And you can really easily just get around or just continue with that, even if you don't know who those individuals are. The, I guess, commitment to Stoicism across the book as well easily shines out. There was a lot of reflections around his duty. There was reflections around and notes of, hey, I've got to pursue wisdom or the ideas of the times that have passed. So that in itself, in a really structured way, again, is awesome. The why you see it be reflected so much in the nowadays. So probably the best well-known one is Ryan Holiday. He's really brought, I think, a lot of Stoicism back into the mainstream in the conversations that I had to have. Prior to that, I know people like Tim Ferriss and others did talk about it, did propose the ideas or the proponents of the ideas and shared them a little bit more publicly. I think, at least for me, Ryan Holiday and maybe others, I don't know. If there's others, again, let me know, that made it come to the mainstream once again. And we can see that in the books that Ryan produces that become number one bestsellers or the like. So it is timeless wisdom. It's timeless relevance to wherever it comes about. And when you're reading it, there's a lot of thoughts on integrity, life's transience, in control, in power, in the soul, in the way that we operate, which comes at the heart of that's existed always. It probably existed prior and it continued to exist. One of the ways, I guess, with this particular book from Marcus Aurelius, or the way that he interprets his ideas and thoughts, is it's crystal sharp. It's the ideas of a man who's taken the time to think about things, to process them. There's call outs throughout this book as well where you can see that he's almost battling with the particular writer of this book. Also mentions it on, he kind of fights his soul. So it's like the mind and the soul, and he brings up some things which anger him, or the ego comes up, or another identity, and he'll, in the same sentence and structure that he's articulating, the same little sentence, he'll also not attack himself, but retrospect on it, think differently, kind of question it himself, which, that's a level of retrospect and internal viewpoint that very few of us even get to. And it just happens all the time. It happens all the time in the sentence that you read here, and you go like, wow, it doesn't read as if someone who's genuinely just sat down and wrote it through. And if it was, and indeed it sounds like it was, man, it sounds like a very wise, very powerful, and very introspective and interesting human. And of course, that brings a lot of people to read the book, read the ideas, read the philosophies, and go, yeah, there's a lot that we can pull out from it. The fact that it was a private journal and the uniqueness of it, I think, also elevates as well. In similar of Diary of Anne Frank, a lot of people to read that particular book or manuscript or the idea. I've read that book before. I didn't particularly enjoy that one, but this one, the uniqueness of the way that it was structured, again, it's, you shouldn't come at it with as a book that you are going to go read cover to cover and there's a particular storyline, a journey. No way. You could essentially pick this book up, go to any page you'd want to, read a few sentences and go, yeah, there's a lot to take away here, which I'll get to that at the very end, a little bit of how you might go about in reading this particular book. Another note around there, just that the presentation, at least that Penguin Classics has done here, I did like that there's a bit of a detail at the beginning. There's the actual books and the sections and what is Meditations right there at the centerfold. That's the big juicy piece that you want to open up and go, I want to read this. This is good. And it was indeed good. And then the notes at the very end, which are there if you want them. I looked through a couple of them and I went, you know what? No, I'm not that scholastically interested. I'm not historically well-versed, nor do I want to be so well-versed into this, but I can get around the ideas and the thought processes that the meditation itself makes you for. So that in itself is a bit of a what the book is all about. The other point, of course, is just how you would go reading this book, or what would you, how would I recommend it? Now, it is very highly ranked always across everything you've ever seen. I similarly ranked it pretty high. It was a really good read. However, if I was to read it again, I would definitely just pick it up and read the page. I would not go down the path of, I'm going to start from the beginning, from book one and go through. I probably wouldn't do that. It would be one of those books that you just pick up, you have spare couple of minutes. I'll just read a page, read a couple of things. Seems interesting. Wow. There's another idea that I'd forgotten about. If you know at least myself from the book reviews, I've got a couple of tabs here, which I'll talk about in the learnings aspect of the book review as well, which, of course I'm going to go to those particular ones, but, I could have tabbed so many more things, which a lot of those ideas within these concepts, if you read them, like Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, but other really quite famous books out there, you can almost pinpoint where they've been used in other books in more recent times, either by quotes, which is obvious, but in non-quotes, or the idea or the principle itself being extrapolated into other books. That definitely you can pick up if you're really carefully reading and have seen it in other areas, which was really, really quite interesting. So highly recommended. If you're reading it for the first time, go through end to end. Don't worry about the notes unless you're that inclined. But if you're ever going to reread it again, honestly, just pick up and go. Lots of good learnings around it. Would I recommend it? Fuck yeah. Would I give it to someone? Hell yeah. I'd go and pass it on to someone. You're probably not going to enjoy it though if you're not a fan of slightly philosophical, not motivational, just introspective type of thoughts. I love that sort of stuff. This is not a deep philosophical piece of work. Wasn't never meant to be such a thing, but I would say it is very, very beginner, intermediate availability of it to philosophical minded people. However, it can be read by anyone, and the way that and I think that's what popularized it as well. It's the fact that it's an easy read, in the way that it's been translated for anyone to kind of absorb the learnings from the Stoic man himself, from the very, very top, Marcus Aurelius. So that has been the book review for Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Once again, have you read it? Did you enjoy it? Tell me. Let me know. Did I read it wrong? There's something interesting that picked up out of it. Something in the review that you found worthy, or something that I didn't share. Let me know. Bootstrams is the best way that you can support us and send through a message. That's message, Satoshi attached. Wonderful, great combination. You can leave a message on all the platforms that we utilize. We use all of them. Just go do it. For now, me and Mortalites, I hope you are well wherever you are in the world. One, out.